This is the class for the Keys to the Kingdom, and we're going to sing Rise Up, O My Soul. We always have a song usually during the prosperity classes, and they've worked really hard. Rise up, O my soul. Rise up, O my soul. Rise up, O my soul. Let spirit flow. Rise up, O my soul. Rise up, O my soul. Show me the kingdom wherever I go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rise up, O my soul. Rise up, O my soul. Rise up, O my soul. Let spirit flow. Rise up, O my soul. Rise up, O my soul. Show me the kingdom wherever I go. Heal the sick everywhere I walk. Be my tongue whenever I go. Make people love God. Make them stronger with my every word. Help me to see that heaven is all around. Now fill my heart with the courage to play. Free my mind from yesterday. I tell people what's true. Let me know what's mine to do. Help me to do it each and every day. Rise up, oh my soul. Rise up, oh my soul. Rise up, oh my soul. Let spirit flow. Rise up, oh my soul. Rise up, oh my soul. Show me the kingdom wherever I go. Show me the kingdom wherever I go.
I'm going to take a moment just to share about my own journey with prosperity. I started serving on the board about 2 years ago, and one of the reasons that I decided to go onto the board was to cause a breakthrough for myself in my own spirituality. So shortly after I joined the board, I was having a conversation with Rev Myra, and she said, you know, as a board member, you really should tithe.
Yay!
And I said, okay. And I did. I was out to cause a breakthrough in my spirituality, so when my spiritual leader says, you should do this, I took it on. And from then on, every income I had, I tithed to the church 10%. And I want to share about 2 things that happened after that. And one is that I began to experience receiving unexpected income. Last year I sold my duplex, which I had lived in for several years, and unexpectedly a real estate agent approached me with an offer for substantially more money than what I had thought it was worth. And so I sold it. And then last week, my brother offered to buy me out of my share of our family farm. And again, I took advantage of that opportunity. And in both of those cases, what was really, really great about that is that the duplex had served its purpose for me, and now it was time to move on to somebody else. And the same was true with the family farm. We had bought the farm to support my mom and dad as they went into their retirement, and that was no longer needed. I was more than happy to give up a mortgage payment, and it was serving as an opportunity for my brother. So there's that circulation going on. The other thing that's happened is at a more personal level, and that is that my whole attitude about prosperity has changed. As I said, I never tithed before, and the reason was because whenever it came time to contribute, I always had this conversation that I did not have 10% of my salary sitting around available to give to the church of all places, right? Now, as I said, I have tithed consistently, and what's happened is I also took on straightening out my finances. I have no credit card debt. We have more money in savings, and what's even better is that when there is a need, I am free to contribute. You know, when Oak Grove got hit with the tornadoes, one of my coworkers completely lost her house, and I was able to say, here. Or when one of my fellow students needed books for class, I was able to say, here, take this. So all I know to say to you is that when your spiritual leader tells you to do something, do it. And truly, you know, as I said, my whole conversation about lack and not having enough and concern and considerations has transformed into we live in an abundant world. Prosperity is available to all of us, and it is freeing. Thank you.
So, if you don't want to listen to me, listen to Evan, who says, listen to me. No, I'm kidding. But really, in all seriousness, it is an amazing process. When we hear Evan's story, we hear the evolution of prosperity consciousness, don't we? We hear how that starts, and the way it begins is we begin to listen to prosperity principles, prosperity teachings, and we take it into our mind. We hear it, we think about it, we understand it, but then we do something. We make a decision to then practice. We have a willingness to practice prosperity teachings. And a lot of times when we do that, we don't have the consciousness underneath it that brings us joy and excitement about living prosperously. But we have a willingness from that faith within us to take the step. And then as we take the step, because there is a truth in us that recognizes truth. And there is a part of us that knows that the God in us and the God that is holds all of us as the beloved and calls for all of us to live prosperously. And so we take that step. And as we take that step, we open a door of faith. We begin to open our arms to both giving and receiving. We begin to be the living flow of abundance. And what happens is then we start to live in that flow. And that is exactly what Evan talked about in his process. And wherever you are, whether you are learning about prosperity, whether you are willing to take the step to begin to practice the prosperity principles more fully, or whether you are now living in the flow, wherever you are, move more deeply into living prosperously. It is your spiritual inheritance. And so I hear Evan, and I'm so inspired because I know that I have made this year my commitment to live fully in the flow of prosperity. And I am already overwhelmed by the goodness and by the power and by the blessing that I am living. I'm swimming in it. My attitude has changed. My life has opened up. I love my husband more, for goodness sakes. It is amazing. And I didn't even know that was possible. I can't wait till the end of the year. My goodness, he's just going to be running from me, hiding like, you're making me crazy with all this love. So anyway, but the prosperity is so rich and it's so full. And yet we say, yes, yes, yes. And then that part of us that is a human being comes and it gets in the way. You know that part of us? It's that part that we have a name for. A good name, but a name for. We answer to it. And that part sometimes gets in the way. And it reminds me of this little Sufi story. If you've ever heard Sufi stories about a character named Nasruddin, you'll know that Nasruddin is a lot like us. And so there's this cool story about Nasruddin that I think about when I think about prosperity. And in it, Nasruddin is in his house. And he needs to go out somewhere, but he needs to bring his keys with him before he can leave. So there he is, he's in his house, and he can't find his keys, but he knows they're there. And he's looking around, and then he's looking out the window. He sees that it's getting darker outside. But then his mind looks at the lamppost that's about a block away. And so he runs over to the lamppost, and he's looking all over for his keys in the view of the light that is being cast by the light. And there he is, he's scrounging around, he's looking, and a really good friend of his comes by, and he says, Nasruddin, can I help you? What are you doing? Nasruddin says, oh my goodness, I am looking for my keys. Well, his friend looks around and he sees where the light is shining and he can't see keys anywhere, and he says, are you sure that your keys are here? Oh, no, friend, my keys aren't here. My keys are in the house, but there's more light out here. And we are like that, aren't we? We are like that. If you hear the interesting words from this story, the keys, if we apply it to prosperity, the keys to prosperity are in the house. They are in the I am, the divine nature of who we are. But our human self gets in the way, it falls asleep, it becomes that unconscious part of us, and we begin to think our prosperity, that which we seek, is out there, but that I am of us knows the truth. And unconsciously even says, no, I know it's not out here, but there's more light. It's sort of like when you have your cell phone in your hand and you're saying, I got to leave, but I got to find my phone before I go in the car. So just hang on while I'm looking for my phone. Having done that, I do relate. And so in the same way, we are called to stay awake to the I am consciousness in our prosperity. We are not meant to go look out there under the lamppost light for our prosperity. It is right here. Our co-founder, Charles Fillmore, called the divine center within us, he called it headquarters. It is going home. And when we live from this place of prosperity within us, we start to live in the flow of knowing that wherever we are, God is. And wherever God is, prosperity is. Now, I love what LK was talking about in his prayer. He was talking about the I am, because that is sometimes what we call the divine center within us. We call it the I am. It's interesting that back in the 14th century, the priest and mystic Meister Eckhart got in trouble for saying that the I Am lives within us. The Pope had him recant that statement. But you know, we all know the truth. The divinity that lives within us is the very truth of who and what we are. And so we are called to live from the I Am, from prosperity, in prosperity. And as we do that, we open the door to the seventh key of David Owen Ritz's great work, Keys to the Kingdom. And we open the door to living in the flow. And so my question for you is this: are you living prosperously from the I Am of your being? Are you living prosperously with every breath, with every thought, with every action from the I Am of your being? Do you give up playing small, being small? Do you stop and remember the truth of who and what you are? And when you live from the I Am, absolutely everything changes in your consciousness. You know, it's an amazing thing, because this radical transformation that begins to happen when you say, I am prosperous, what happens is you start to see and you start to gravitate toward prosperous thoughts, prosperous activity, prosperous gestures. So I want you to stand up, and I want you to feel your feet on the ground and know that where you are standing is holy ground. And why is it holy? Not because we're in church. It's because you are present and you bring the I Am. So feel your feet on the ground, and then open up to the I Am center of your being. And from this place within, I want you to proclaim from the truth of your being, not from your mind, and not just listening to me as your spiritual leader, but from the truth of your being. I am prosperous. I did not feel the wall shake. I don't know if you did. Let's try that again. From the depth of your being. I am prosperous. 3 times, each time going deeper from the truth of your being. I am prosperous. I am prosperous. I am prosperous. Now hold this space within your being. Let it resonate so it vibrates in every cell, shaking out and releasing everything that stands in its way. As you now stand in the truth and as you live in the flow, once again from the depth of your being, I am prosperous. Can you feel it? The energy in our sanctuary has just shifted with your truth. Please be seated. Know that when you stand in your I Am, you are no longer who you were. You no longer resonate in a small way. You no longer live in a little way. You plant the seeds to living prosperously with every word you say and with every action. Make the commitment to live prosperously. It's an amazing thing to see this, and even today when I got dressed, because I'm so in this prosperity thinking, I started to think about it. So I was going to wear this little humdrum, cute little dress, and I thought, no, dress up, live prosperously. And then I went to put some jewelry on, and I found one necklace, and I said, well, if 1 is good, 2 is better. Live prosperously, right? And it is even in those littlest moments. In fact, when my daughter saw me this morning, she saw me, and she's so helpful. You know, she's also my fashion guide. And so she saw me, and she did this. She went, "Mom." What? She goes, "Did you know that you have 2 necklaces on?" I said, "You know my philosophy. Less is not more. More is more." She goes, "Oh, so that's intentional." Yes, I'm prosperous in jewelry, you know? So it is even in the littlest of moments that we live in prosperity. When I heard myself starting to fuss about something, a situation, I heard the switch, the key unlock a door to prosperity, and I heard myself shift up and stop. I heard, "Why are you thinking that? That does not serve." And I opened the door to creating a prosperous thought that was a blessing, that was empowering, that was liberating. That's how we live in the flow. So I'm encouraging you to live in the flow, plant the seeds of prosperity in everything you do, in everything you say, because what happens is when you live in this flow, you will not only generate prosperity, as Evan was talking about, by living in a consciousness and being willing to open the door, but it starts coming to you. You start harvesting, if you will, the seeds of prosperity, even without your effort. So hold this in your mind as I share with you this wonderful little Bible parable that Jesus spoke. It comes from the Gospel of Mark. He said, "The kingdom of God is as if somebody would scatter seed on the ground and would sleep and rise night and day. And the seed would sprout and grow, but he doesn't even know how. The earth produces of itself first the stalk, then the head, then the full grain in the head. But when the grain is ripe, at once he goes in with his sickle, because the harvest has come." That is the way prosperity consciousness works. We first begin by planting the seed wherever our new growth is. And we take that seed in faith and we place it, we ground it, because we live on holy ground, and we ground it in faith and love and principle. And we allow it to gestate, to be nurtured and supported. And we continue to go forward, and then in the night, in the next day, again and again, we begin to harvest that which we planted. It comes forward and it amazes us. Prosperity living is like that. And so to support us in living this way, I just want to go over the 6 other keys with you and then arrive at the last 7th key as we close out our series today. And so the first key, as you know, in faith, we commit to prosperity principles. We take that step and we believe beyond our human thinking and beyond our patterns and our old ways of being. The second key, we hold a steady vision of abundant living. We continue to hold a vision, and we rest in seeing it and nurturing that vision, so we don't just hold the vision one day, but we continue to commit to that vision, and we believe that we deserve our highest good, the vision that was given to us by God itself. And then we move to the third key, which is we build a new awareness of truth. And what we do here is that we really pay attention to our thoughts. We pay attention knowing that thoughts create, and we build a new awareness of really focusing on truth and focusing on that which is real in prosperity beyond appearance. And we live in that awareness, knowing that as we stand in truth, it will indeed manifest in good times and in hard, again and again and again. The fourth key, we become a generous, joyful giver and receiver. We allow the flow of prosperity to move through us, and we become generosity. We give as God would give, not as we would give. And we receive as the beloved of God. We do so generously, joyfully, and we allow the flow to be bigger, better, and greater than ever. The next key, key 5, and this one is a heart key. It is, we release the past. We let it go, and we are willing to forgive at depth. We forgive in the smallest of moments, and we forgive those old hurts, those old wounds, those old resentments. We forgive others, and we forgive ourselves, and we create a space of freedom and love that allows generosity and prosperity to flow within our psyche, within our healing, within our world. We allow ourselves to let go of that which no longer serves. The next key, the 6th key, and this one is so much fun. This is one of the most exciting keys. It is that we bless and we praise the good in our lives. If you remember, David Owen Ritz reminds us to not passively bless, not passively be grateful, but he talked about proactive gratitude. To be big about it, to be loud about it, to be joyful about our gratitude, so that we're swimming in gratitude, so that when you see your name in the dictionary, what you see next to it is blessed and praising the good in her or his life. And so we open the door to being grateful. And what are we grateful for? Always abundance in one way or another. All of these keys lead us to this 7th key, which is that we live in the flow from the I am of our being. We are never done with this process. We open the door and we continue to live in these 7 keys so that we swim in the flow of prosperity again and again. And so I invite you as the beloved of God to now claim your inheritance. Open the door to living prosperously in every way. Know that from the I am in you, you are prosperity magnified. The God in you gives and receives prosperity as never before. And you are blessed, and you are a blessing. From the I am prosperity consciousness in me, I honor, I bless, and I behold the I am prosperity consciousness in you. And as Dr. Spock said, live long and prosper. So be it, and amen.